All right. Here we are. Facebook Live, Instagram Live, YouTube Live. Thank y'all for joining in for podcast number 2. The release session presents Smoking Words. Today, we got a special guest. I've met her through the poetry. Some of y'all may be familiar with her as well. She has a new book that she has written and published and put that thing out. And I'm gonna let her tell you all about that. She's also a dope poet. She's also a great person in this little time that I've known her. So without further ado, we have our special guest today, Miss SupaNatural. How you doing?
I'm all right.
All right. Well, it's funny because it's just the second podcast, and it gets to the point now people hit me up, hey, let me get on the thing, let me get on the podcast, and definitely want to get everybody on there. But I had to have you on this one because you have some things that I need to hear. I have some questions I'm going to be asking because you're one of those rare people that I've come across or met where I can ask questions about something that I don't think other people are comfortable with. And I think me and you have discussed we got something in common. Let's just say that. So let me just start off from the jump. We'll start from the beginning. When did you start writing poetry?
Well, before I even go into that, I just want to thank you for having me on the show. It's an honor. I'm just a little old girl that writes sometimes, so I appreciate the consideration, and I'm happy to share my experience and anything that I have. So
I appreciate it.
I started writing poetry probably when I started writing. I should have brought my other book. My mom recently found a book from elementary school.
Okay.
It's a poetry book that we actually had our teacher published in
Wow.
quotes. And there's a poem in there that says, there's lots of poems in there that say all kind of funny things. But
Of course.
really hilarious, and then it's just really cute in the beginning, which I think a part of it is in my book actually. Mm-hmm. It just says thank you for reading I'm in 3rd grade, thank you for reading. So that's as far back as I can, if I have information or evidence saying it's as far back as 3rd grade, but probably since.
Well, let me ask you this, because a lot of people ask me all the time, like, when did you write your first poem? How did you write your first poem? Whatever. And I can remember, some of y'all know this, some of y'all don't, so don't hold it against me. But I was in jail.
Happens.
I was in jail about 15, 16. Well, it wasn't jail, it was juvenile, really. I was about 15, 16 years old. And I was a rapper at the time, right? I wanted to rap. Like, that was my thing. And I had a little girlfriend in jail, and she broke up with me while I was locked up. Like, through a letter. Like, that's hard for a juvenile. Like, she, broke up with me. So I wrote a poem, right? And the name of the poem was called What Would You Do If You Have a Broken Heart? I still remember to this day. That was like 1994, possibly, somewhere in there. And it was called What Would You Do If You Had a Broken Heart? I don't know shit word of it right now, so don't even ask me to recite it. But I say that to say, when you wrote your first poem, if you remember what it was, what was it and where did it come from?
Yeah, so actually 2 stand out from when I believe I was in 10th grade, and in my English class, a section of our class, we had to write poetry. And I wrote one, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but I have it framed, and it was about how I wanted to have a center for youth when I grew up, and then I ended up manifesting that years later. And so, and then the one that really stands out, so 2 of my best friends were in the same class with me, and we had this poetry project, and it's a really long poem, but so we had to perform it. This is the first poem I ever remember performing. We had to perform it for the class, and for whatever reason, 3 14-year-old girls wrote a story about, it's called Baby Daddy Drama. I think at the time, my best friend was actually pregnant. And the story, I don't remember all the details, but the baby mama was upset with the baby daddy, and so she tried to blow up his house.
Oh, wow.
And didn't realize that her baby was in the house.
Wow.
And when we performed the piece, everybody in the classroom cried, and that's when I realized there's power in this whole poetry thing and this writing thing. So
Yes. That is an absolute fact. That's one thing I've learned about over the years is that poetry, it just does something to people. And it comes in all, it comes in all shapes, sizes, and colors. You could say a poem about, I would tell people this, and a lot of people know this. I'm not a fan of slamming, poetry slamming. For those of y'all who watch it, I have no idea what poetry slamming is. This is like a competitive type poetry. All right. Over the years, I've become the bad guy of poetry because I don't like it, and I've told people about it. I don't like nothing about it. Because to me, it makes poets compete, and to me, poetry is not something you compete at. You can be good at it in your own right, but it doesn't make you better than this poet or that poet. And to me, I think it's kind of fucked up and stupid when you have two poets who are doing some dope pieces and you have a total stranger and you say, what do you think about that poem? So it's like, if you just broke up with your man, you going through some Mary J. Blige type shit. You go to the poetry show and they say, you be a judge. You say, I'm gonna be a judge. That poet gets up there and says, the best breakup poem you ever heard in your life. You like 10, 10, 10.
right.
Then the next poet says a poem about Snicker bars. You like 5.
True.
You see what I'm saying? And so I said that to say some of the best poetry I've heard had 2 lines. It was the dopest shit I ever heard. Then I heard, I got a couple 3-4 minute pieces. And those pieces were the concepts and the meat of it is the gist. So y'all call me on a little poetry rant, but y'all already know how I feel about poetry slam. So it's no secret. Everybody knows that. All right, back to it.
I agree with you. I respect slams.
Yes.
I just.
Don't get it. What she said. Don't get it twisted. I respect it. I just don't agree with it.
I guess. All right. Because what are we? If there was like a curriculum or something that we're just throwing up numbers. So what are we doing here?
It is. It's pointless. But so now you started writing poetry. Now I understand you're a mother, right? Maybe.
Kind of. So my son passed away. So
Yes, which is
angel mother.
yes,
Which
which is why they want to say you were a mother,
Right.
because to me you are a mother.
thank you.
All right. Now, I understand this may be an uncomfortable subject. And at any point, you can tell me, hey, because I'm on that boat with you. All right. Now, can I ask, what was your son's name?
Sure. Nathaniel Lee McKay.
Nathaniel Lee McKay.
We were Nat and Nate.
Oh, wow. I like that. I like that. How old was he when he passed?
He died at 2 days shy of 4 months old.
2 days shy of 4 months old. It's an angel. May I ask how he passed?
Sure. To be honest, I don't know the official ruling because I've never looked at the documentation, but my understanding is SIDS. He died in his sleep as an infant, and he was a very premature baby, and so I think anything like that, they consider it SIDS.
Now, you say that. I go into detail with you, and some of y'all know my story as well. My son passed away when he was 11 years old of suicide. A lot of people know that. And what caught me, what you just said, is that he was also born in preemie. He was born in preemie. So in a weird kind of way, I used to look at it as if he was blessed to me early and taken away from me early, right? If that makes sense. And the reason, it's like what I learned at the beginning, because at the very beginning, I didn't know what to do, like most people wouldn't. Like, you see it on TV, you watch it on the news, you're like, oh wow, oh my God. and then it happens to you, right? So we are two individuals who have, I'm not going to say lost, because I don't feel you lose anybody you love. They just borrow from you, but they're always here, and your son Nathaniel, an angel, and I got a thing about babies. Babies just, they're the epitome of the world. That's how the world goes on. And I can remember when my son passed away. I can remember I got a call saying, "Hey, no, what happened was I was at work one day. I was at work, and his mother called me. And she was like, 'You need to come to the house, come to the house.' And I was like, 'Yeah, quit playing. They play jokes. Like, quit playing.' Hang up. And I just kind of sat there and I was like, that doesn't sound right. So I got my phone, I got the call, and then it kept going to voicemail. And I just kept calling, and finally a man answered. And he said, 'This is Bedford Police Department.' I said, 'What's going on?' He wouldn't tell me anything. He said, 'You need to get to Harris Hospital out in Fort Worth.' So I was like, okay. Left work, fell and broke his arm or something. Something.
Right.
Flying out to Fort Worth, get in the waiting room. They have you waiting in, and his best friend's father and another friend were there. So they were just like, 'Hey, we're just here because his mom couldn't come.' I was like, 'Why his mom couldn't come? Like, it's not ready to me.' So it hit me when I'm waiting for the doctor, but the pastor walks in.
Mm-hmm.
Pastor walks in and says, 'Yeah, you father?' I'm like, 'Yeah, what's going on? Like, why am I talking to you?' Mm-hmm. "Oh, yeah, doctor's gonna come in and explain to you. We just want to, like, I don't want to hear that. I want to talk to the doctor. I want to talk to the doctor." Right. Doctor comes in, says, "Your son was brought in. We tried everything we could. He has passed away." And at the time, I didn't know why or how he passed away. I just knew he passed, and I wanted to see him. And I went and see him, and still thought it was a joke. I went in there, "Wake up. Boy, get out of this bed."
Right.
He never moved. And the hardest thing to do was have to call, my mom, his aunts and uncles, and things like that. And these are things that, things I'm saying right now are things I haven't told a lot of people, but I feel comfortable with Miss SupaNatural right now because these are the type of discussions you need to have. These are reasons why you have to advocate depression and be support for people that are going through grief counseling, which brings us right into what Miss SupaNatural has written and published. So before we introduce your book and everything about it, I just want to know. I want to call him Little Nat. That's an angel.
Mm-hmm.
How much, or if all or any, did he push you to write this book?
Probably like 98%. And I'll tell the story about how the book came to be, but I wanted to ask, what was your son's name?
His name was Jameer Orion Shelton.
Jameer.
We called him Little O.
Little O.
Little O.
Okay. Alrighty.
Little O. That was his.
They're
That
up
was
there
his.
kicking it around. I know. I know my kid is with the big kids. I just know he is.
Yes,
There.
I just say he's playing Call of Duty in heaven. He's playing his little racetracks. Yeah. Oh yeah. He was a brainiac. And what I did learn to do was how to memorialize him in my own way. And what I did is I went and bought gang of candles, the white candles, the long glass. Went and bought a gang of those. I went and got one of his favorite pictures that I liked, and I framed it, and I put it on my counter next to this candle, and I put a rose right there. So I talk to him like he's there. I come home, "Hey man, how was your day? 'Cause mine sucked." And mom said, "Hey," your baby sister said, "Hey." We talk about like he's normally there, and I think that's a really good thing when you've lost someone and you don't know how to deal with it, you have to reach out. You know, even if it's counseling or through churches and things like that, you still have to reach out and find a way to memorialize them because it helps. And don't get it wrong, you have your moments. I have my moments. I have my moments, whether it's a song I've heard or I could be out one day and I see some dad holding hands with his son or anything. It's those are triggers. Those are triggers. And there's nothing wrong. And before we get to Supernatural book, my message to anybody who has lost someone, especially a child, if you lost a child, my advice to you and any parent is hug them till you cannot hug them no more. Kiss them till you get tired of kissing them, and then you go back and kiss them some more. Because you don't know when they may be your last kiss or your last hug. That's just my advice. So, tell us about this book.
So, actually, this book has been coming together unbeknownst to me for years. I recently, earlier this month, made 14 years in the counseling world.
Oh, wow.
Some people know, some people don't know that in addition to being a poet or writer or whatever I am, call myself, I'm a licensed professional counselor, supervisor now.
Okay.
And so when I started off in the counseling world, I was an undergrad, I was doing an internship, and it was at a bereavement center. Because I'm a weirdo who was like, oh, sure, I'm not scared of that. Everybody else was like, what? You want to work where? And so I was just, green as ever, and the experience there was amazing. I learned so much about grief in general, about supporting people in grief, that it just blew my socks off. The other clinicians there, the families that came through there, and so I was getting a unique training and experience in even under the counseling realm that a lot of therapists, a lot of people just don't get, because again, like you said, kind of starting off, it's kind of a taboo. A lot of people don't want to talk about grief.
Yeah.
They don't want to feel grief.
No, scared of the word.
I don't either. I don't want to sign my name up for that.
Absolutely.
And so going through, groups with these clients and these families and kind of seeing how the Plinko chips were falling into place, but I didn't even know for what or why. And so after I became fully licensed and went into private practice, I noticed, and probably because I advertised myself as a grief specialist, that grief clients were just flocking to me. I couldn't beat them away. And so I was like, okay, I think I have to do something here. And so I'm like, I have a lot of experience. At this point, my son had already died, so personal and professional. So let me put a group together and see if I can, provide some services that will be helpful. Well, I'll pause there and then do the personal side and come back.
Okay.
So let's see. My son died. We just came upon 6 years last week. And so thankfully, I was already a counselor and I had the experience of working at the bereavement center. So I had some knowledge of how to healthily process through. It didn't help as much as I wanted it to, because I still dealt with every single thing that every person that experiences a significant death loss, and especially, in my personal opinion, every parent that experiences the death loss of a child, the depression, the suicidal ideation, all the things.
So your plate is full, and you're getting food piled on top of your plate. That's hard.
So I had the personal experience, I had the professional experience, and then when I went into private practice, I noticed that these clients seemed to flock to me. And I'll tell you, I was telling God, I was like, look, send them away. I don't want them. I can't help them. I don't know what to tell them. What am I supposed to tell them? Just cry? Because that's what I do. A lot of
what can you do?
What am I supposed to tell these folks? And God was telling me, yes, you. No, it's you. And I was like, I don't want it. I'm going to start telling them, no, I'm not a grief specialist anymore because I don't want to do this. And obviously, he had other plans. And so I facilitated my first grief group. And I just kind of, with all my experience, personal and professional, I just kind of made it up as I went along. The things that were helpful to me, I incorporated them, and just the things that I knew. And I think I started off with like 5 people in a group. One other parent that had lost a child, and then folks that had lost parents and siblings and what have you. And it was life-changing. I don't even have words to really explain
Wow.
what it did for them and for me. And so I was like, okay, there's something here. So around the same time, I had a colleague who is a social worker, and she had interns. And so she was like, I really would like for my interns to learn how to do grief counseling, but I don't know, and I don't know anybody who does that.
Right.
And you're a specialist, so would you be willing to come and talk to my intern? And I was like, sure.
Right.
So I went and I did a training for a couple of her intern groups, and she said to me, why aren't you selling this? And I was like,
That's a good question.
I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I didn't never thought about this. She was like, you have expertise and you have the map out. This needs to be a curriculum. You need to be selling this.
Right.
And I thought, So all of this was happening, and then at the same time, after my son died, is when I started to get more back into poetry, and I started doing open mics, and at first I was writing only grief poems about the club, the unique club that you and I are members of, and about my personal experience. And it was really just like the underbelly, down bottom parts of depression and grief. And
You were writing about pain.
Man.
My poetry changed. When my son passed, my poetry changed.
Oh.
I was writing about funny stuff, goofy stuff, political stuff. When he passed, all my poetry changed to what you hear now.
Yeah. I actually wrote a poem one time called, and it's in the book as well, one day I'm going to write a happy piece, because I felt like, I don't think I can do it. People were writing about love and positivity and even like black plight and stuff, and I'm like, the only thing I got is grief. And so I challenged myself, and like, one day I'm going to do it. It's not quite going to be today. So as that was happening, and a lot of people that I was running into in the poetry scene were saying, like, this is so powerful, this is needed, we don't say these things, we don't talk about this stuff in our communities, like, people need to hear more of this. I just thought, what if I just blend all of this together and put something out and see. And so that's how it came to be. So that's why I was saying it kind of started 14 years ago when I was at the bereavement center, and then along the way, definitely, if I had not had my death loss experience, I don't know that I would have gotten to this point of writing the book and having the poetry to put in the book to put
Well,
out.
you wouldn't want that to be a reason.
Right.
You know, I mean, if that sounds right, like, I mean, because obviously your motivation comes from losing your son. All right, so if that doesn't happen, then there's no motivation.
Right.
You know, to write about grief, unless you're going through something traumatic enough where it pushes you to that. But, you know, God has a way of doing things, right? And so the way I look at it, it's just my opinion, is that he made a power move, and he put you on a road to something else that is helping other people. You know, and that's how I kind of look at it. I looked at it like God had gave me so many chances to do the right things and treat people right and respect people, make good decisions, be a good father to my other children. And he said, you know what? Now I gotta show you. Now I gotta show you, because I've been warning you. Now I gotta show you the only way I know you will pay attention. And you can't get no bigger than, you know, losing your son or your daughter or anything like that. That's, if you don't pay attention after that, then you just don't deserve to be here either. You know, and that woke me up, because I know personally after that, I didn't come outside. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do nothing for at least a good 6 months. And luckily, the only thing I had going on was the relationship I was in at the time. She was a rock for me. You know, we ended bad, but during that time, she was a rock. She was an absolute rock. But for 6 months, I didn't do nothing. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I didn't believe in God. I didn't hear nothing about Jesus. I didn't hear no positive news. Don't call me out. It was nothing. I had a whole beard. Hair was here everywhere. I just didn't care. I did not care. And that's the part, you know, that I think your book touches on, is the grief part, because I had no idea how to deal with it. I went to counselors, but it's hard to sit down and talk to a counselor about losing your son, and they never lost anybody. Like, how can you tell me how to win a football game if you play tennis? Like, it doesn't make sense. You know, and so it didn't help me. The counseling did not help me at all. It did nothing for me. And I probably did about three or maybe 4 sessions, and it did absolutely nothing for me. I kind of healed myself, to be honest with you. And I don't even say I'm healed, but I kind of took that upon myself. I said, you know what? One day, I got up. I said, you know what? Let's go get a haircut. You know, my hair was out here, and I told my barber, I said, you know what? Just do something with it. You know, so I had a little mohawk going with twists, I had a whole beard, and what people don't know is that I had that haircut the last 4 years, and the only reason I had it was for my son. So about 6 months ago, to where my hair is now, I went to my barber. It was on my son's birthday, which is September the 4th. I said, cut it off. I'm sorry, y'all, September 9th. I said, cut it off. And he was like, why? I was like, it's time to let go. It's time to let go. He was like, okay. And he cut it off. And I said all that to say, that's how I dealt with my grief. This was I holding on to, a haircut. Just for him. Because that's what he wore. You know, but when he cut it off, he was like, it's like, wow. It's like a load off my shoulders. And everybody deals with it different. So you tell us, in your way, shape, or form, how did you deal with it?
Yeah, in so many different ways. When I started, the first 6 months to a year, it was brutal. There are still brutal times, but that was the most brutal. Couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't do anything. I was stopping my car on train tracks. Y'all don't tell anybody this. But I had a flask with me sometimes when I was stopping my car on those train tracks.
Hey.
I was like, look, something, I'm feeling too much. I need to stop feeling. And I only told maybe 2 people in my life at the time, and one of them is his aunt on his dad's side, and she was like, come here, come on, pick up and come to me. I'm gonna help you with this.
Right.
And I lived in San Antonio at the time. I just picked up and left. I hadn't even sold my house. I interviewed for a job. I did a phone interview for a job. The guy was like, I can't tell you officially, but I really like your personality. I want to give you the job. And I left. I was like, okay. I moved to the DFW.
Wow.
And I stayed with her for a little bit. My mom has been my rock through this whole thing. She's my person. If it were not for her, whew, I might not have gotten off those tracks. And then I started to reach out to more people over time. When I moved here, the job that I had when I first got here, had a coworker that saw me one day. So my very first day on the job, I'm in training, and on the computer is a picture of a baby, of a 6-month-old baby. So I have to stare at this. My son hadn't been dead maybe a couple months. I'm having to stare at this 6-month-old. And I broke, and I went to the bathroom, and I laid on the bathroom floor, and I was crying and snotting. I came back, and this lady, she just kept looking at me, and at a break, she said, "Are you okay?" And I am not one to, divulge, and I divulged. I was like, nope, I am not okay. My son died, and this, and she was like, oh my goodness, can we exchange phone numbers? Can I just, keep in touch with you? And I'm so grateful that I did that, because she became such a huge support to me. And then I just started talking about it more. I started talking to people. I started telling people the space that I was in. I found a counselor of my own who's amazing.
Right.
I started writing more poetry. The first grief poem that I wrote was the only one that I wrote for a long time, and then I started writing more. I had a conversation with God on the tracks one day. I was like, look, you know that I've been on your team for a long time, since I was like 8.
You gotta have those discussions.
I'm starting to doubt you, and so if you don't do something like ASAP, I'm not gonna get off this track. This gonna be the end. You're gonna lose a child just like I did. And that happened on a Friday. And the next Monday, when I went back to that same track, because I used to have to go across that track to get home from work, there was a new sign there, like a do not stop on tracks, and it was like one of those blinking ones, and it was never there before. And I just knew in that moment, I didn't know why, but I knew God was like, keep going. Do not stop again. And I never stopped again. And so I did a lot of things. I found a church home when I moved here, and it's been amazing, the family there. But yeah, really therapy, which was helpful to me in ways my therapist has not lost a child, and God willing, she never will have to be.
Yes.
But what I have learned along the way because of these experiences with other people is that people don't have to have the same exact experience as me or anybody else to be helpful, because at the end of the day, some people just know pain, right? Whether it's trauma, whether it's grief, whether it's whatever, which is why I think I was as helpful as I was to individuals even prior to having my experience, because I just knew pain. And then when I had my experience and then more training, I knew it on a deeper level, which I think is why God continues to use me to help people. But I found my tribe, my tribes. I found more purpose, more passion, and I decided that I don't know that my son would have been proud of me if I would have kept stopping on the tracks. And so I wanted to do other things in life to make him proud, which was like writing a book to use our experience to help other people, and just kind of continuing to do what I do.
That's deep. That's just I'm really just while you telling me this, I'm seeing those tracks. While you were telling me all that, and that's so deep, because I've had a moment in my life where I didn't want to be here. But something had to give. And I've write about it for those who remember, who've been to a release session poetry show. The piece I have called "Don't Kill Yourself." That's a real piece. That's a real piece when I talk about, contemplating taking my own life till my daughter knocks on the door. That's facts.
I have one called "Do Not Stop on Tracks." So.
Oh, wow. And it happens. So, what is the name of this book?
Yes. So the title of this book is A Counselor's Poetic Guide Through the Grief Journey. And I know that's a long title, but I wanted people to know exactly what it was without having to think. So it's a counselor, myself's poetic guide through the grief journey.
It's pure.
Yeah, it
pure.
just is what it is.
So y'all got that, A Counselor's Poetic Guide Through the Grief Journey. So the title itself tells me that it's for everybody. It's for a poet. It's for a non-poet. It's for somebody going through grief, for somebody not going. If you're a counselor, this is a tool that you can use. So where the idea? I guess we know where the idea came from. We've established that. So tell me, at what point did you say, I'm doing it?
Yeah. So the first couple of years, I wanted to do something in honor of my son for either his birthday and or his death anniversary, and I just couldn't bring myself to it. And I'm not judging people, but I despise the thought of balloon releases. I have another little short poem called "I Don't Want to Release No Damn Balloons," because I just was like, what is this? Yeah. And so I'm like, I have to find something else to do. And so I was like, oh, how about this? For his birthday, I'm going to put out a book to help people go through similar things. And so actually, God's Will, the book actually published on his birthday this past year, November 27th.
You didn't plan that? I
know
you wanted it,
but it didn't look like it was going to happen at all, like not even a little bit. And the first day that it was published on Amazon was actually on his birthday, so that was incredible.
Oh, I like that.
But the book was written twofold. One is actually a resource for other clinicians, because again, it's a taboo topic, it's a taboo subject. But then it's also for grievers and poetry lovers who have gone through any kind of grief experience. Okay. So my big experience was bereavement, but as you can tell, it doesn't say bereavement, so it's not even specific to death. although that's my experience, this is anything that you grieve, whether it's a divorce, time in jail, so time away from your family, whether it's a job loss, whether it's a loss of identity, anything that you feel like you have grieved, there is support in here for you.
Absolutely. I tell you what we'll do, folks. Well, we at 30-minute mark. All right. We're going to take a quick couple minutes, and we're going to dive into Miss SupaNatural's book. She's going to tell us a little bit more about it. We're going to read some more stuff about it, and we'll be right back. So just stay where you're at. This will be real quick, fast, and easy, and we'll come right back.
Sure.
All right. We're back. Just had to get some water going, doing a little adjustments over here. All right. For anybody that just jumped on, this is the Release Session presents Smoking Words. I'm here with my special guest today, Miss SupaNatural in the building. We are talking about a lot of different things. We're talking about a lot of deep things, a lot of things that could help you, a lot of things that you could put on your brain. She's gonna tell us about her new book in a minute, and she's got some interesting stuff in it. So you know, this interview kind of reminds me. I got a piece where I say me and you are a lot alike, and that's what I kind of feel about Miss SupaNatural. We have a lot in common. So I'm intrigued by what we've been talking about, and I want to hear some more. So before we went to break, we introduced the book. We introduced the motivation behind it, the push for it. Okay, so let me start this way. What order did you put the book in? Like, did you were you just writing and you said, hey, let's start this way, or do you just kind of we'll go here, how did you come about that?
So the book actually follows the grief support group that I facilitate. So It's pretty much an 8-week course, if you will, of kind of processing through and interested. God just does all the things. He works in mysterious ways.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, when I was trying to figure out how to blend the curriculum with the poems, I was really trying to say, like, okay, do I need to write new things? Do I have things that fit? And honestly, I had a piece that fit perfectly with each topic. And so there was no work for me other than to just marry them. Yeah.
All right. So did you self-publish or did you go to a publisher?
I self-published with the help of a publisher that helps people self-publish, but yes, self-published.
Okay. The reason I asked, I know I wrote my first book. Oh man, that was so long ago, probably 2008 or 9. My book got me fired, but my book was not about grief. It caused some grief. But it was not about grief. I think a lot of people know that. I wrote a book called A Player's Prayer. Yeah, it's out there. You can Google me. It's out there. It's called A Player's Prayer. It is a book that I wrote. And at the time, I was just I was starting some shit pretty much. I was dating like a bunch of girls at this job.
Okay.
The
same job?
Yeah, the same job.
Okay.
And what's that movie? That movie came out. How to Be a Player. Before that movie came out, I had read the book written. All right, I'm not bragging on it. I'm just saying I wrote a book about it. So one day I was just bored. So if we gonna get back to the grief book, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. One day I was just bored, and I said to myself, I wonder if I can remember how many girls that I've been with. Right? But the concept was, you know, what was their impact to me? Was it a serious relationship? Was it just a dating, random, whatever it was? And I had to write. So with each girl, I started writing about them. Like, how did I meet them? What was something about them? You know, they all had something about them. And before I knew it, I was on like chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I'm messing with all these girls at work. And the only reason I wrote the book because I knew this young lady. All she did was read books on her lunch breaks. That's all she did. So I would just give her stuff. I was like, tell me what you think. And she came back to me. She's like, this shit is good. Like, you should try and get it published. I was like, really? She's like, yeah. I sent that book to like 3 publishers. 2 of them was like, yeah, we can do something with this. You know, and long story short, ended up getting the book published, sent out. Jobs. My job got a whiff of it because one of the girls in the book went around and told everybody that she was the one in the book. Yeah. I didn't do it, she did. So the job fired me. Well, but that's not why they fired me. They told me they were firing me for violating the company's email policy by emailing the book. That's what they told me they were firing me for. But that's not why they fired me.
You emailed the book from your work email?
I got set up. It was a whole woman setup. Like a young lady I knew, I'm not gonna say her name. Emailed me like, hey, I heard about your book here. It's really good. Can you like email me a copy of it? And at the time, I just had it on drafts. Sent it out. So they fired me for violation of the company's email policy. Long story short, I ended up winning unemployment. I ended up suing them as well because it turns out in the state of Texas, you can fire anybody for anything. Whatever you say you're gonna fire them for, it has to be the reason saying they firing you for. So they looked stupid because they ended up looking at their own policy, which clearly stated that personal emails are allowed. But anyway, I said that to say, yeah, book was trouble. Anyway, but your book. So tell me, it's probably a trick question. What is the best piece in there you're proud of?
There's probably, I don't know, probably 3. I may read one. And the reason that one stands out is because it gives a glimpse of the whole process. It's called the 7 Ds of Death of Child. And so I know a lot of people are familiar with like the 5 stages of grief and even the 7 stages of grief. And so from that kind of spun my poem about my personal journey as a grieving mother. And so that one is the one that I may read today just because it kind of gives a glimpse of like the process. Other than that, my 2 favorite would the first one that I wrote, which is I think you first.
Yeah, we cussing.
Fuck This Club, which is I think that's the one that you're like, you know what, we need to talk.
Yeah.
That's the first grief poem I ever wrote after my son died. And it's raw, it's uncut. It is what it is. And then one of the more recent ones, Dandelions to My Dandelion, that's probably one of my other favorites. Well, they're all my favorites, but that's another one that really stands out because it just exemplifies what I have done yearly over the last few years to commemorate, his life. Instead of doing the balloon release, my family and friends, we do dandelion blowings every year on his birthday because his theme was Prince of the Jungle. The dandelions that look like a lion, and then we can blow them. So instead of doing a balloon release, we blow dandelions.
So is Fuck This Club in the book? Fuck
This Club is in the book. Dandelions to My Dandelion is in the book. 7 Ds of Death of Child is in the book. All 3 of those are in this book.
Now, I don't want y'all to get it misconstrued. The name of the piece is called Fuck This Club. We are not talking about a club. All right? The club she is referring to is a club where parents who have lost their child go to this club. And we are 2 members of this club, and it's a club we prefer not to be in, and that's what she means by the name of the piece called "Fuck This Club." All right, so you got your pieces in there. When did you get your release date?
Like,
And how did you feel when you got it?
yeah, I cried. I was anxious, so I'm going to be very careful. I had some fumbles prior to the release of my book with the person who was originally helping me self-publish, and which is why I thought the book was not going to come out when I anticipated that it was going to come out. And so my stress level was on 5 gazillion. I'm like, this is the one thing that I do to honor my son. And so then I found someone else that was able to help me get it out. And I felt anxious. I cried when I saw the date. I was like, it actually published on the actual date. I was excited. All the feels.
I could imagine, man. I'm looking at you right now when you're talking about this book, and I heard this on this movie. This guy said, "What are you thinking?" I can see the smoke burning. I forgot what movie that was, but I can see the smoke burning. And I love it. This is why it's one of many reasons why I wanted to have you as a guest on here, because I felt like this is the things that need to be heard. So, can you do us the honor of maybe reading us something?
Sure.
Is it okay?
Absolutely.
We're finna get a poetry performance.
Yeah. All right.
From Miss SupaNatural.
Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and read the 7 Ds of Death of Child again, because it kind of exemplifies a little bit of a process. Y'all bear with me. The 7 Ds of Death of Child. Devastation. The moment you discover your child has died, it's like you get hit by a train, and then your remains get run through a shredder, but your brain doesn't die. It's like you implode, and all that's left is a cloud of smoke and shards of what you used to be. Drowning. After the initial blow, you realize you've sunk into the lowest of lows, engulfed by the deepest and darkest blue, convinced that not a single soul can see you. No air and little life, no joy and tons of strife. With self, with God, with family and friends, this is the closest thing to the end. Desperation. Realizing you can't continue this way, yearning to die, but fighting to stay. Begging God for a raft or vest, promising to breathe if he'll do the rest. Silently crying out for help, wishing you could deal the card you were dealt. Divine intervention. The space between suicide and living, where something bigger than you is preventing the former and permitting the latter. Surviving off the prayers of the righteous and the Holy Spirit himself. One day you'll realize you're stronger, yet sadder. Dreaming. Fantasizing about the future, seeing yourself healed and happy, or at least less zombie. Considering another child for the first time, pictures of names, genders, and faces fleet by. Doubt. Questioning everything you've ever believed. Posing questions like, how come God never has to say I'm sorry? And does God cry for me? Finding it impractical to have faith in something you can't see, and outlandish to believe one day you'll feel relief. Day to day, realizing that life from now on is just picking up enough shards to be alive enough to move. Not on, but to the next piece. And then one day, we hope, we'll have collected enough pieces to be some kind of being again. A being that can smile, love, laugh, hope, and believe. Or at least bear. I pray to see y'all there. Angel parents, I am so sorry we're a thing, and my heart is with us. And that's that piece.
Wow. And give us the name of that title again?
That is the 7 Ds of Death of Child.
7 Ds of Death of Child. Where can we get this book at?
So you can get this book directly from my website at www.lenaenterprises. That's Leena enterprises.com. You can also find it on Amazon. But Amazon doesn't give
everything
you
on Amazon
as much of your cut as they should.
Oh no, they will not. I know.
So you can definitely just order it from my website. Again, that's www.lenaenterprises.com, and I'll tell you the Leena Enterprises. So my son's middle name is Lee.
Yes.
My mom's middle name is also Lee, and then the NA for my name, so it kind of keeps us together.
Awesome.
Leena.
Wow. So I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Poetry wise, where can someone catch you spitting or performing at?
Yeah. I'm kind of becoming a little bit of a regular with the relief session.
Yes, sir. We love it.
The smoke, y'all be killing the system. My hair, I be having to wash my hair every time.
Smoky words.
But I'll be back around. I just
April 17th next show, so I just throw it out there.
okay.
You know, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'm around anywhere in the Dallas Fort Worth area, Arlington's that has open mic stuff. I'm actually doing a meet and greet, book signing, poetry feature showcase.
Okay.
That's a lot altogether. In June, it's going to be the first weekend in June. I haven't decided if I'm going to do the Saturday or the Sunday yet. So,
Okay.
There will be more information. About
Yeah. Let me know anyway. I could assist in that, help you promote it, network it. If you want to jump back on around then, please let me know. Now, you're on Facebook under.
Yes, Facebook, I'm under my legal name, Natalie Ross.
Natalie Ross. Instagram.
I am under SupaNatural, _SupaNatural.
Yeah.
I started off my poetry name as SupaNatural, but Instagram hated on me. They wouldn't let me give me, so I switched over to Super, but it's
Super.
fine. Either way.
Natural.
Either way, it's fine. But yeah, on Instagram, you'll find me at _SupaNatural.
Any other social media? Because I'm on everything.
I don't have a YouTube or anything.
Okay.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, first of all, let me say thank you for joining me again today. I needed the conversation we've had today. I do appreciate it. You got some really deep stuff that you've kind of you've went over, and I think the best part about it is that, like you said, we're in the same club. You know, so I say this again. Anybody that knows me, they knows I am an advocate for depression. All right. If you are suffering from depression, if you know somebody suffering from depression, if you have a question about depression, anything, know you can reach out to anybody. And please do. You can reach out to me. You have Miss SupaNatural right here who just wrote a book on it. If you can't reach out to her, purchase her book. It's the same thing. You know, so there are avenues that you can go through. And we do it through poetry. We do it through poetry. So again, thank you for joining us. Thank you guys that have tuned on and checked us out. Miss SupaNatural gave you all the information. Please support this young lady. Hit her up if you got questions about the book, you got questions about the poetry. You can also hit me up if you got any questions about any portions of this show. This show is Facebook Live. We are also Instagram Live at the same time. So y'all been seeing us kind of looking all over the place. That's because we're simultaneously doing Instagram and Facebook. And this will also be uploaded to the Release Session YouTube channel. So you can go to the Release Session. Go to YouTube. Put in the Release Session, subscribe to the page, cost you nothing. And I should have this thing uploaded by later on tonight or the morning, something like that. I definitely get it to you so you can do what you want to do with it. So other than that, you got anything you want to say or add? Or
let's see. Lastly, not everyone has a bereavement experience, and I know that. And so I have 2 other books coming. The next one is going to be a counselor's poetic guide through family relationships, friendships, and romantic relationships. Because I'm in all kinds of clubs, the divorcee club,
oh god,
all the clubs. And so, if you feel like, well, you know, I kind of like what's going on, I like where she's coming from, but I don't have a bereavement experience, that's okay. Just look for the next couple they're coming to. But this one will help you as well, but the next couple are coming.
All right, you heard that. She's in all kind of clubs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the divorce club, the I don't know.
All the clubs.
I think I may be in the same clubs too. Shit,
Oh,
I
man.
don't. You know, it's crazy right now. Hey man, whatever y'all do today, thank you for tuning in. The Relief Session is Smoking Words. Shout out to my sponsor, GFN Radio, iHeart Radio. That thing is coming. Shout out to Jason, Denise Stanford at the Attaché. We are live filming from the Platinum Room. Big shouts out to them for giving us the space to do this today. Shout out to the Blueprint Lounge, Warren and Bowtie for letting us do the release session, present Sexy Can I Poetry reading, which we did this past Saturday. That was a great success, great show. Next release session is April 17th, right here at that Attaché. I have no idea what I'm gonna call it yet, so I don't know. After I get a couple drinks, I'll come up with an idea. With that being said, whatever you guys do today, be safe, much love, be blessed. See you when we see y'all. All right. Dinner.